Scenes in a courtroom here in Paris on Tuesday when judges heard again from the man who's believed to be the sole surviving member of the Islamist squad that carried out the terror attacks in the French capital in November 2015. Salah Abdeslam told the court that he didn't know about the plot from the outset and bore no responsibility for the 130 people who were killed in the attacks. His testimony during a terse exchange with magistrates drew anger from survivors. Their reaction in court then prompted lawyers for the defence to stage a walkout. Well, to discuss this and more, we're joined in studio by Arthur Dénouveaux, survivor of the assault on the Bataclan, and you're also president of the Life for Paris Survivors Association. Arthur, you talked a little bit on Twitter yesterday about what happened in that courtroom yesterday, describing it as a circus. Tell us a little bit more about what happened and how you felt seeing that in court.
Yeah, there was obviously a lot of tension yesterday because Salah Abdeslam was dodging every question and he was giving answers who make no sense. And so the tension was building up and at some point he just said that people who were in the dock had seen their lives ruined, even though they were innocent. And I think that was a bit too much for some of the survivors in the courtroom. And there was a reaction, which was not that noisy or anything, but the defense seized upon that to get away with it and to leave the courtroom. And I think that was a good tactic for them because the day was not good and Salah Abdeslam was shooting himself in the foot. And so they said, OK, we're done for the day because there is too much tension. And that was a shame.
And you say as well that the defence, they've been playing the victim for the past 6 months or so. Can you elaborate a little bit on that?
Yeah, of course. It's a huge trial and it's very hard to defend terrorists. We know that. And for the past 6 months, the defense lawyers have kind of said what we are asked to do is impossible. The pressure is impossible. There is no room for a real defense. And that's a way to say, OK, we're victims as well. And the people in the dock, somehow they're victims as well because their rights are not going to be respected as much as they should be. And that's very strange. You know, there are real victims in this courtroom and they're not in the dock.
How did people respond? I know there were some outbursts when he said that, but afterwards, did you speak to some of the other survivors? How did they react to that?
They were quite shocked that the defense lawyers decided to leave and that it was, you know, it called it a day. Because for us, there is a respect that goes towards the magistrate, and the magistrates are the only ones who can decide that the day is over. And that's a way to say, OK, we defense lawyers have a right that you victims don't have to call it a day anytime we want. And I think that was a violence that we were not ready for.
Now, after keeping his silence for years, Salah Abdeslam is now speaking as the second time we've seen him testify in court. He's saying that he knew about the logistics, he didn't know what was being planned, he pledged allegiance, but he didn't know what he was pledging allegiance for. How did it feel to see him speak like that in court?
You know, when he spoke for the first time, there was a sense of shock because we were not sure he was going to speak. We did not expect anything from him. But the more he speaks, the more we're getting used to it and we see that it makes no sense. Everything he says is, OK, I helped someone, but I did not know why. I did that, but I did not know why. I pledged allegiance, but then 2 days ago, I did not blow myself up, so I'm kind of innocent. And all of that does not add up. And he doesn't want to say anything about any other people involved in the plot or in the squad. And so what we see is that he is trying to avoid too much jail time. He's trying to avoid to speak about anyone else. And that does not make sense because, you know, we know what he did. There are some videos. There are a lot of things about him. And so whatever he says, we have tiny grains of truth, we're sure of, that contradict what he says. So we're kind of feeling that we're losing our time when we listen to him.
And how do you feel about the media attention that he receives? The more provocative he is, it seems the more attention he gets. How does that make you feel?
I think I don't want to put the blame on the media alone. You know, the victims, they come to hear him. The media come as well. And the magistrates, they could not hear him during the instruction because he said, OK, I don't want to talk. So everyone is waiting for him to speak. So I think we have a shared responsibility of the monster, or the media monster we've created with Salah Abdeslam. Honestly, the media coverage is quite good. I mean, of course, when Abdeslam speaks, there are a lot more coverage. But even on the quiet days, you have a lot of articles that go quite deep in the process of the trial, in the meaning of all of this. So it's always weird to see that Salah Abdeslam can, have such a big audience, but it's not something so important.
The trial is followed closely here in France, but you're saying that what he says is not really adding much light to our understanding of the events of that night back in November 2015. Over the process of the court, of the hearing, of the trial, have we learned anything at all, do you feel?
Yeah, to me, we've learned some things, and some of the jihadis in the box, they came and told, okay, I did not go there for religion, but mostly for political reasons, because I felt that what was happening in Syria was kind of what was happening a few years before in Tunisia, where there is an uprising and things like that. So religion came second in my, will to go and fight. That's something we hadn't heard before, and that's something that's very important to understand the global, phenomenon around ISIS, is that it's not about religion only, it's a mix between political and religion, and that's very important to hear.
Has your opinion of the defendants, of the main co-accused in particular, has that evolved at all over that time?
Being in the same room as them, of course, you feel that they're human people. You feel they have a right to defend themselves. And so something evolves. Of course, it changes from names on a paper to people we know and people we recognize and things like that. But in the end, we don't have much things to do with them, because in France, you don't speak to the accused when you're a victim, and the accused don't speak to you directly. So we're still quite removed from them.
Quite removed, but in the same room as
them.
So
you feel they exist, but you don't know them.
Arthur Dénouveaux, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us this morning, for giving us your time today.
Thank you very much.
Arthur Dénouveaux, survivor of the Bataclan attack and president of the Life for Paris Survivors Association. Thank you.
Thank you.